There were skeptics in the past, but now you have that installation base out there to see. The second pivot that we took was to move towards hydrogen, because when you look at decarbonization, which is a theme across the globe, and rightfully so, hydrogen can play a major role to decarbonize. Now, hydrogen for India benefits our manufacturing in multiple ways. And let me touch upon one key area where there'll be a fill-up of manufacturing activity just because of the hydrogen policy. Now, in the case of hydrogen, the dependence on an imported fuel is completely eliminated. That's because what you need to produce hydrogen, you need land resource for wind and solar energy, and I'm talking of green hydrogen. So it's all domestic. Second, you need land, again domestic. Third, you need water, again domestic. Fourth, you need manufacturing of electrolyzers. India is a very large export house of steel and steel products, so we have our own raw material to manufacture electrolyzers. You put this together and you produce hydrogen. You completely eliminate any dependence on import fuel, which has major economic benefits for India as an economy. And then in the backdrop of this, there is a manufacturing ecosystem for green energy that kicks off. And this, I think, is a very healthy, prudent, and directional way for us to reach that mark of $5 trillion.
Right. Mr. Dange, my next question is for you. And, I think the pace of road construction is something that, all Indians feel very passionately about. I think, everyone discusses, our pace of road construction is reaching this level and that level. So I think there is certainly that element of pride associated with it. But the fact still remains that, we are likely to not reach the target that we had set out to meet for this fiscal, right, in terms of road construction. So I want, if you could, help us understand what some of the roadblocks here are. We have seen that, construction awards have gone out, of course, in the last few months. So there is a pipeline ahead of us. But what will have to give so that we reach that optimum level of, a good pace of construction? And what is the policy initiative also behind it that will have to support efforts like this?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me opportunity to. As you rightly said, the infrastructure, my fellow panelists also mentioned about whether it is power infrastructure, digital infrastructure, or a physical infrastructure like highways. It has been growing, manifold in last few years. Of course, as you said, the pace of highway construction is always talked about, and it's of course a pride for everyone to talk about. From in 2014, we were, I think, year on year at 11-12 kilometers per day. Today we are around 35 kilometers a day. And it's not only about pace. For example, this Bharatmala program, which government is implementing, it talks about reducing our congestions at 90 places in the country. So our 90 cities congestion is being, futuristically talked about to reduce the congestion. The whole infrastructure planning is going into a very long-term futuristic mode. For example, most of you have heard, or few of us might have traveled, or probably some of your products might have traveled in last 15 days or so on a new Delhi-Mumbai expressway's first section that has been developed. Now that expressway is in all terms is of a global standard in terms of design, in terms of facilities, in terms of long-term futuristic outlook for the infrastructure, so that it sustains our, say, at least 50 years demand of infrastructure. For example, I'll suggest a small intervention that has been done in the, for example, see, the entire expressway today I think is around 8 lane, but there is a capacity inbuilt within the expressway that it can be expanded to the 12 lanes. So I think that's something which has never happened in the infrastructure development in this country. So whether it is 30, 35, or whether we want to reach to 45, is always, they'll always mange more. So I think that should continue, that fire should continue. But more important is, for example, I was discussing with, I was in a conference a few days before with our transporters, which plays a very important role in making sure that your products go to the markets. Their usage of vehicle per day, travel, has gone up from around 185, 75 or 85 kilometers per day to almost 320, 325 kilometers per day. So one single truck vehicle of every transporter has started almost doing double the length which it used to do few years back. So I think that's something which is more efficient. For example, we did a study between Delhi and Mumbai, the existing Delhi-Mumbai road, and a truck has to travel for from Delhi to Mumbai, it crosses around 12 toll plazas. So we studied 12 toll plazas. And average stop time was around 10 minutes. Stoppage was 10 minutes. So 120 minutes the engine is on, idle, but it's waiting. So we were talking about, ensuring how do we reduce the emissions, how do we bring in smartness. Now every toll plaza a vehicle passes in 6 seconds. And I think that is something which has helped infrastructure bring down the bottlenecks and increase our efficiency. So I think there is no need to explain in detail that this infrastructure has a tremendous multiplier effect. Tremendous multiplier effect. For example, today you go to places like Alwar or Greater Noida, the manufacturing units have gone in last 7-8 years doubled the number. So I think, as everybody said, and in the first session, Honorable Minister said, that today, fortunately, after so many years, nobody talks about whether India will be a manufacturing center or not. Probably the infrastructure in last 7-8 years has given that impetus to the entire thought process, the way we ourselves look at our nation and the people look at our nation. And I think, for example, PM Gati Shakti talks about integrating all these infrastructure, whether it is highways, railways, or waterways, or aviation. In aviation, we have doubled our number of airports in last 10 years. Just imagine, from 75 airports, we are 150 airports, and we target to build another 200 airports by 2030. Imagine the kind of impact it will bring in, In fact, today any of us go to the Delhi airport and we all started thinking, do we need another airport in Delhi? So if Air India has ordered 450 aircrafts, probably we will need an Air India terminal in few years in Delhi. So I think infrastructure has given that impetus and opportunities as well. For example, infrastructure alone, this Delhi-Mumbai expressway, one expressway has consumed almost 100 Burj Khalifa amount of cement. Amount of cement it has consumed is almost like 100 Burj Khalifas. So look at the impact it has and look at the opportunity the infrastructure will create for the manufacturing. And of course, for example, from conventional way of building our infrastructure, we are moving towards being more mechanized, more, say for example, more precast, more smart. For example, now the entire precast mechanism is built through health monitors inbuilt into our infrastructure. So, so many smart things need to be brought in. So I think infrastructure both is giving necessary bandwidth for manufacturer to grow and be more competitive globally by giving good logistic support and everything. And also infrastructure is offering a lot of opportunities for manufacturing to fulfill that needs in the infrastructure. For example, a new technology is being used for bridge construction in highways, railways. There we need a iron fiber. Today we are importing that iron fiber. And imagine we are, I think, building more than few thousand bridges in India. Imagine the kind of opportunity it offers for manufacturers to build it in India and just consume in India and then later supply to the world. So I think infrastructure, as you rightly said, offers huge amount of opportunity, and thankfully government has continued that sustained focus on infrastructure so that it creates that necessary, both in terms of the bandwidth for the Indian economy to be competitive globally, and also opportunity for Indian manufacturers to get that basic impetus.
Well, thanks, Mr. Dangi. You've laid out the multiplier effect of the sector very comprehensively for us. And Mr. Singh, I would like you to weigh in on some of what Mr. Dangi said. And of course, the road construction, it yields business for companies like yourselves in construction. But how would you say, has I direct the same question to you, the pace of and the consistency of this development been, and what would you like to see in terms of a more concerted policy effort to ensure that, things move in a timely manner, timelines are met, and there is a greater level of visibility for companies like yourselves in terms of, what to prioritize, and, and you also mentioned, automation is something that will have to come in to ensure that, this construction happens at a faster pace, a more efficient manner. So your thoughts on that, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here amongst all of you. I lead Tata Hitachi, which this is one of the oldest construction equipment manufacturing company in India. We provide a reliable solution for infrastructure by manufacturing excavator, loaders, and we are very excited about the kind of development which is going on in infrastructure in India. We like to compliment the effort being put in by, especially by central government and NHAI, especially for that. A lot has been talked about infrastructure development, whether it is in terms of roads, railways, mining, irrigation, ports, airports. We believe that it is going to play a huge amount of multiplier to our economic growth of our country. But what comes into picture when you are building such kind of infrastructure, you need to optimize your efficiency. You need to build this infrastructure in a best possible time. What are we looking at? We are talking about a Bharatmala project, which is a 30,000 kilometer. We are talking about 23 express highways. We are talking about reducing the transportation time to 50%, which has started happening in some of the areas, like Mr. Dange was talking about, from Delhi to Mumbai. Very soon we'll be able to reach in 12 or 15 hours. We are talking about the movement of freight, the freight corridors between eastern freight corridor from Calcutta to Ludhiana, from NCR to JNPT. So to develop this infrastructure, we need huge amount of commitment, passion from all the sectors, whether it is private sector, government sector. It needs a huge amount of investment by the government. So government has allocated, the capex has been increased by 35%. The kind of challenges which we face while developing this infrastructure, the major challenge is the most important today is skill, manpower. Construction industry employs 50 million people and need double than that today. So we are one of the largest employment generating industry in India after agriculture. So the most important challenge we have is skill. The second is we need huge capex investment from the industry. For that, you want projects pipeline for next 10 to 15 years. Sometimes we don't get that. I think NHAI, mining industry has started giving us that visibility so that we can bring in advanced technology, more automation in our infrastructure equipments. But then you need very clear visibility for that. And the third challenge what we face is the funding, long-term funding. Though government has already opened infrastructure finance bank with the capital of 20,000 crore, and they are going to finance 4 lakh crore for infrastructure. Today, most of the NHAI projects are being funded by them, but timely execution of these express highways need funding for long term. That is another challenge. Many times we face challenges towards environmental clearances, land availability, the synchronization of central government and state government. But I must compliment in the last 5 years, especially last 5 years, we have seen huge change, huge improvement in all these things. But we need more. So I think that is where we need to work very closely with the government. We work very closely with NHAI. And we work very closely with mining industry, though we are talking about renewable energy. But I must say here that 70% of our energy requirement today is met by coal, thermal. And the way our industrialization is taking place, even going forward, 50% of our power will be from thermal production. And they are going to record 1,000 metric ton production by this year. They need huge amount of automation, equipment, advanced technology, and that is where I think a private industry public sector undertaking and government has to work together so that we optimize our efficiency, we reduce the cost of logistics, we reduce the cost of movement of goods and materials. So that is going to play a very, very important role. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very sharp observations. Thanks for that, sir. I hope we still have Ms. Saraf with us. Great. So, Ms. Saraf, again, just to segue a little bit and talk about the sustainability opportunity for India. There is, a big focus on that, on ensuring that the supply chain is now green when we talk about the evolution of supply chains. So do you think that this is an opportunity that the chemical space, should be tapping into right now? Or if we have, how much have we made a move in that direction, and what needs to be done, whether it's on the policy side, whether it's on the side of the industry itself? Your thoughts there?
No, definitely ESG has become, the very hot topic and top of the town. But, it is actually something that our company has been very mindful of, for the last 20, 25 years. We've always believed in clean and green processes. And one of the reasons we've not gotten into a lot of products is because at that point we felt they were not, clean and green and didn't fit our bill. We've also always believed in the policy of waste to wealth. Have a zero effluent plant, zero emissions, and now this net zero and carbon have become a talk, and it is very important. We see, all companies abroad are looking at suppliers very keenly from an ESG perspective. They are auditing all suppliers, making all sorts of norms necessary. And this is something where India can tap into. Of course, it is public-private partnership. Sometimes I feel some places the government is too strict with the pollution norms, but at the same time we must be and we have to be, and it's for the industries to capture this moment.
Too strict in some places, but like you said, it perhaps is for the good and for the industry to head.
More strict, maybe delays. Or maybe just trying to really understand what we mean by zero effluent, but that's a different discussion.
Vishal, let me come back to you. So what ZWork is trying to do is work again in a very primarily unorganized industry, right? And you operate across segments of the industry. So help us understand, and this may be a difficult question to ask, and I'm not even sure if this is the right question to put to you, but what is the level of digitalization that you see in manufacturing currently? And what's the right way to sort of think about digitalization at various levels of manufacturing? And then ZWork is one such platform. Do you think that there is, space or perhaps a need for many more such platforms to come up? And then going forward, will this be the approach that manufacturers will eventually start taking to manufacturing?
I think technology in manufacturing today, in our country, islands of excellence do exist. There are different industries. There are different factories/industries who are at a very evolved end of technology. If you see, the most TQM plants outside of Japan is in India. The most FDI approved plants outside of US is in India. But then these are islands, right? There is a potential of scaling it up further. And most of these small manufacturers that we work with today, the highest level of technology that they would have probably used is an Excel sheet. Whether it's to manage their inventory, whether it is to to maintain their ledgers, etc. A slightly sophisticated one would probably be using a tally, but that's like the top level. And technology, I believe that efficiency comes through both software as well as hardware. Mr. Dange mentioned about the truck running double the distance in the same day, right? Which is amazing efficiency for the truck owner. The small fleet owners don't believe in buying fleet beyond 3 or 4 or 5 trucks. That's the hardware part. Then there's the software part, where whether you use technology to operate your own shop, the microcosm of your shop, far more efficiently, churn out greater productivity from your plant, or when it comes to integrating multiple shops and ensuring that if something has to be delivered on time, how do you ensure, like we introduced a concept called parallel manufacturing, right? You break down a large order into multiple small orders, synchronize the whole operation so that the final order still gets delivered at the right time. And that cannot happen manually, right? There are multiple, it's a fairly complex manufacturing process. Then there's a complexity of geography of different parts getting manufactured in different parts of the world. So technology is the way. I would say it's nascent, but we are at the right time. I think we are at the cusp of technology revolution in manufacturing, and I think we are all very blessed to be working in the manufacturing space at this time in India.
Certainly. Thank you for that. Mr. Chaudhary, I want to now devote some time to talking also about the shifts we are seeing in mobility. And of course, mobility, the way people commute, the way goods commute is an essential piece of this infrastructure development conversation that we have. And there are shifts there, and we're talking about these being generational shifts, whether it's in EV infrastructure, whether it's hydrogen power, looking at alternative fuels. And I do believe Schneider Electric is now looking at foraying into the EV infrastructure space. So while we do see a lot more happen in terms of the product development side, the infrastructure piece is perhaps what lags. And then, sort of brings, perhaps slows down the pace of adoption that could have been faster otherwise. So your thoughts there, what are some of the challenges that we're grappling with? And then what will some solutions be?
No, thank you. Sandeep ji touched on this subject of infrastructure, especially the highways and all the infrastructure where the mobility happens and all, whether it's trains, airports, other infrastructure and all. That's definitely part of the story, because the efficiency of that definitely add on to the efficiency of the mobility, whether it's e-mobility or whether it's normal mobility and all. Now what is happening, let me just concentrate on the electrical vehicles and the whole infrastructure which is there. This is a transformation which is happening today, and there are still a lot of I will say experiments which are happening depending on it's also very much linked with the cultural aspects and the way the various countries, because what works west or in US doesn't work in Europe, what works in Europe may not be fit for us, or what works there may not be fit for other things. So there will be a lot of innovation which has to happen, which is at the local level. Our the way we are progressing is from the bottom up. Talking of two-wheelers, where the large mobility happen in India, and this is where we are concentrating. Now, two aspects. One is the infrastructure on the equipment itself, whether it's scooter, the battery, replaceable, rechargeable, and all. But the background infrastructure, this is where also a lot of work has to be done in. We actually are at a very sweet spot as India, because the infrastructure which India will need in 2040, 2050, 50 to 60% of that is still to be built. While the West, while going into EV and e-mobility, they are undoing the thing and redoing the thing and adding again the complexity. We can leapfrog, we can build our infrastructure which is required for the future mobility with all the things, technologies which are available, implementing those. But the question is, do our regulations, do our, the way the whole industry is organized, does that support us? Maybe that's where we should ask our question. Any builder which is building, is there a regulation to say that if you are making so much of square feet of the space, the total energy which you can use per square meter or per square feet per year will be so many units? No. So because he doesn't pay for the energy. Energy has to be paid by the consumers who will be there. And that is where there are gaps which we have to fill down. But I see that as it's a biggest opportunity, and this is a leapfrogging opportunity for us to show to the West how, like we have moved our whole economy, while the Europe was built with core economy, the big grids, the big railways, big highways, we have seen that how economy can be built by digital highways rather than going through the whole thing at the same time. Similarly, I think on the e-mobility we can leapfrog also, provided we can fix up some of those infrastructure and regulatory things which are required. But I'm very optimistic on that one.
Sure, we're almost out of time, but I'll quickly ask if there's, I think Mr. Nanda would like to weigh in.
No, I just wanted to mention that the opportunity that India has, the onus is more on us rather than the government. I think the opportunity is out there for us to go and capitalize on. GE has a huge commitment to India. We have 12 manufacturing plants. We have 18,000 employees in India. We have 4 engineering centers. Be it the Tata order that we recently got for aviation engines or the licensing agreements that we have with BHEL. I think the commitment to manufacturing and being a part of this journey to take us to $5 to $7 trillion is very much there. And I'd like to end by saying that the onus is more on us because the opportunity is out there for us to go and capitalize on.
Yeah, just a small comment. I think, as you rightly said, this infrastructure is being built. For example, the roadmap Mr. Singh suggested about, or so many of our people have suggested. I'll share you an example. Because so much of infrastructure is being built, there is a huge amount of opportunity for manufacturers to come up with the smart solutions. For example, in this Delhi-Mumbai Expressway and Gujarat section, one company has created a world record of building a 2.5 kilometers of 8-lane concrete road in 24 hours. Now, to build that road, they had to import the machine which has been built of the size for the first time in the world. Now, there is a huge opportunity to become more smarter, offer a lot of new solutions, both on technology front and both on the manufacturing front, so that we are able to grab those opportunity and, fill in that gaps of completing our infrastructure in time, reduce delay, make it more smart, more efficient. I think, so there is a huge amount of opportunity, the way we look at it.
Sure.
Yeah, I will just add what we've been talking about. The infrastructure pace is going at a very fast pace. In the last 5 years, the capex has increased by 3.5 times. But I just want to say here, in any developed country, when we look at US, China, Japan, in 60s and 80s, in those 20 years when they were developing, or earlier than that, it was about 8 to 10% of their GDP was on infrastructure development. Today, our penetration has gone up to 4.5% from 3%, but we have long distance to travel. And the most important thing in that is building efficiency, skill level of people, so that we don't have any kind of failures while building up. The quality of infrastructure has to be very good. Today, when you go to those countries, and when you travel, whether it is rail or road, the quality of infrastructure is very, very good. So that is where you need advanced technology, you need trained manpower, you need funding. So these are going to play a very, very important role. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're at the end of the discussion with this, but I'll quickly ask the audience if there are any questions, for the panelists. I see one hand there. I'm not sure how we can give them a mic. There is, yeah.
Mic. On the back.
There. Could you be a bit louder? Do you think the mic is closer?
Everything is working, so I'll come up.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think as a country, Anilji and Sandeep, you mentioned, I think one of the most critical aspects is the training and skill manpower. As a country, we seem to have, kind of leapfrogged from agriculture to services, and it's only now in the last 10, 15 years that manufacturing has brought on. One of the things that is industry, academia partnerships, I think the onus of creating policy making will only create in infrastructure, create the ecosystem, but industry, academia partnership has to be created, which I think energy companies like yours or even Sandeep, partnering with academic institutions, wherever Dangeji also is involved in academia, a lot of course material can be created over there, and that's the way to future. I think that's one of the focus areas that probably some thoughts on that.
I think we cannot agree more than what you have said, but just to say this is also very big responsibility. industry has it and businesses have it. We are in the energy management, automation, digital field. We have created, about 472 plus training center across the country to train electricians. And that too, in some of those training centers, this is, we are training special focus on women training center. There are about 175,000 electricians have been trained, which are employed in the industry and with our partners and all the projects. And out of that, many of them are entrepreneurs now who are doing the maintenance of hotels like this and all those things, and nursing and employing more. That's even much more very. But very important is the curriculum which we develop, the labs which we develop, because it's a very employable training which is very, very important. And we have trained 6,000 women and girls who are actually not moving from their communities. They are working their community and maintaining all the solar farms which are in the remote areas. That's the kind of, somebody, for him or her, it was difficult to earn 3,000 rupees a month. When they earn 12,000 rupees, for them this is the US, this is, Dubai, it's here itself. That's the kind of impact it has social. ESG, we talked about that, but definitely this is a very, very important, and more industry and institutes are coming forward to that. That's the backbone of the whole economic, social development.
Can I add something? No, I think as Mr. Chaudhary said, we all will completely agree on we definitely need skilling. I'll share you an example. We all have seen COVID-19 and particularly the second wave in COVID. And the entire nation was, worried about how do we ensure our oxygen reaches to whosoever needs them badly in the hospitals. The biggest challenge at that time, we were not even utilizing 1% of our oxygen produced in the country for the health purpose, not even 1%. So it was not about building that capacity. It was about having that necessary skilled manpower to make sure that oxygen is transported to wherever it is required. So logistics and manpower. And the most precious resource at that time was the skilled driver who can drive that oxygen tanker. So we had to actually airlift drivers, bring him back again, ask them to, drive the truck. So they were so precious at that time, so government had to come up with the oxygen train, so many efforts had to be done. Every year we need 22 lakh drivers. We are still need 22 lakh drivers. So we talk about employment, how do our manufactured products, our capacities that we are building, how do we take that to the market? Unless we have right logistics and people who will ultimately take them to the market. So I think, but just to, not offending anybody, but this talk about industry taking initiative in skills, I'm sure companies like them are doing excellent job. But the skilling has probably failed because it was based given only to the industry. So I think why our IT industry could grow, because we had huge amount of young engineers coming from the academic institutions. So I think industry will have to support academia, but academic institutions will have to come up with new programs, new solutions where we are able to train our people from conventional, as we call 10 plus 2 plus graduation, from that to the more skilled base, vocational base, collaboration kind of thing. So I think that is where more need is required.
Right, it's only appropriate we're wrapping up the discussion at the people question, and I think all discussions, irrespective of sectors, do come down to that ultimately. But thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Raf, who was with us virtually, for taking the time and joining us for this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this insightful discussion. I'm sure the future of manufacturing and infrastructure in India looks certainly bright. I request all the panelists to kindly join us once for the group picture. All the panelists, if you can just join in on the dais for the group picture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us give them a huge round of applause for such an incredible discussion. I'm sure we are going back with a lot of information and a lot of knowledge with us. Thank you, all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we will break for tea and networking. We will be back here. It's a quick break, so come back as soon as possible. Also, don't forget to use the hashtag while uploading pictures. It's hashtag Smart Manufacturing 2023 and tag us at @LiveMint on Twitter. See you again. Thank you.